What's going on, ladies and gentlemen and ladies? Back for another interview. Danielle, thank you for joining with the Tatum Squad. I'm glad when I see Tatum Squad people jump on here. So shout out to everybody that's jumping on. Thank y'all for tuning in. My boy Witt will be joining me shortly. I want to give some quick updates and some stuff before I have Witt join us. But just so you know, man, if y'all don't know who Witt is, man, he's an incredible young conservative. Works closely with and for Prager University. I mean, it's funny because his name is Witt. He is probably one of the most witty individuals that I know. I wanted to bring him on so you guys can be introduced to him if you don't know who Witt is. If you don't know, he has a tremendous story. I'm not going to give too much of his information because I'm going to interview him and he's going to talk about it. His new book is coming out. I think his new book is out. It's How to Win Friends and Influence Enemies. I'm taking the liberal arguments with logic and humor, which is what Witt does. I mean, he makes his arguments with logic, and also there's a comedic relief to the things that Witt does. So in the comment section, if you know who Witt is, put a #1 in the comment section. If you don't know who he is, I don't know if you've been falling asleep behind the wheel, too many White Claws. I don't know what the issue is, but today you're gonna find out who Witt is. An incredible friend of mine, an incredible patriot, and I can't wait to dig into his story, because I think one of the things that I'm going to ask him tonight is the most important thing in the life of a conservative, the most important thing in the life of anybody who is existing on this planet Earth. And you probably know what I'm going to ask him, but I'm going to reserve it for the interview. So without further ado, without me running my mouth too much, y'all make sure y'all hit the like button, share this video. My book is coming out November the 30th, Beating Black and Blue, Being a Black Police Officer in America Under Siege. You can get the signed copy, non-signed copy. The link at some point during the live stream will be in the description section. If it's not there fast enough for you, just go to beatingblackandblue.com. I've been signing books all day long, every day. I'm doing 200 books a day so I can meet my deadline of all the books that people have gotten. So without me talking about myself too much, I'm going to bring in my friend, a true patriot, somebody I respect, I admire, changing culture every day. One of the greatest people that's doing it. Shout out to my boy, and help me welcome Witt. What's up, Will?
Yo, man, that was too nice of an intro. I didn't know you thought all those nice things about me.
Oh man, I have just making it up for the audience. But that mustache though, let's talk about the mustache first. What? Why did you grow your mustache like that? Is it a certain reason, or you just or what?
You played football, right? Yeah. So you know what a playoff stash or like a playoff beard is. This is my playoff stash for the book. So basically the mustache is around until the book comes out, and then it goes, we win the title, and then maybe the stash stays. We'll see. Make a New York Times bestseller list, keep the stash. It was good luck, but that's really it. And listen, I'm a masculine, good looking guy. I think the stash adds to that. So hey. I think it helps.
Hey, you still on the market or what, man? You on the market?
I am. It's complicated.
It's complicated.
It's complicated. Love could be around the corner at any moment, but it's tough.
With a mustache like that, man, you got your pick of the litter, man. So, but I want to talk a little bit about ask you a few questions. Your book is not out yet, correct?
No, it comes out next Tuesday. So the 21st. Yeah, but you guys can pre-order now. So anywhere books are sold, Amazon, wherever, you can order my book now.
Perfect. We're gonna get into your book, but I want to start out with people. Most of the people that I bring on are conservatives, and in reality, it's people that I like that I bring on. I don't do a lot of interviews. I'm just not into the interview thing, but I like to interview people that I think are important to the movement, people that I care about, people that are my friends, and definitely people should know at this point that you are a conservative. So I want you to tell people. I mean, how old are you, if you don't mind?
Just turned 25 last weekend. So
25 last weekend. You work for PragerU.
Yep.
How long have you been with PragerU?
Man, it's been like 4 years. I think I got started with PragerU about the time that you were starting to get into this stuff too, maybe 3.5 years ago. The same as Candace. We all kind of started at the same time.
Yeah. So but you haven't always been a conservative, right?
No. I started out as a liberal atheist back in Colorado. I mean, I was on the complete opposite side, and I wasn't just atheist. I mean, I was going around telling people how stupid God was, how horrible religion was, how dumb it is that they have any vested interest in politics whatsoever, and that they should be apathetic. That I was that guy. And
You were that soy eating tofu, and I'm just playing. But you was that
never
guy.
the soy.
I want to ask you some pointed questions, man, because I think it's because I want to save the best for the second part of me having this discussion. So can you tell my audience your journey from being a atheist liberal God hater to what you have become today is what I would argue one of the most prolific conservative voices, especially for young people. So how did that journey happen? And like, how did you get to this point?
You know, I started watching Brandon Tatum videos on the Tatum Report, and
you
became a conservative immediately. No, yeah, like I said, I mean, I grew up in Colorado, and my dad was never around in the picture. He was actually in prison for basically all of my younger life, and so my mom was like my main role model, and so somehow she raised me with common sense values. But my brother was my half brother, and he had a different dad, and his dad was very anti-God, all this stuff, and so it passed on to my brother, and then he's my older brother of 4 years. He's like my dad. So basically anything he did or believed in, I was the exact same as him. And so I went throughout high school, middle school, just believing all of the leftist dogma, all of the anti-religious dogma. And then I went to college. I went to CU Boulder, which we call the People's Republic of Boulder. And I mean, it was a complete turnaround on everything that I knew. I mean, I was in a sociology class. You go to all the BLEXIT events. So you've heard me tell this story before, but in a sociology class, and there's a black girl sitting next to me. And I'm a white guy, and the TA at the class points at me and she says, "You are oppressing this girl next to you because of the color of your skin." And I didn't know any better at this point. I'm like, am I really oppressing this girl? And we're both kind of looking at each other awkwardly. And after that, I started just getting super into the political world, the cultural world, because I wasn't going to have some lady tell me that I was a racist just because I was white. That didn't make any sort of sense to me. And so that's also one thing. I don't understand how there's so many young white men today in America who just let the left put this on them. It seems strange to me. They have that sort of, they take it like that. Anyway, but it got very involved with political groups. Ended up, the girl I was dating was a huge Hillary Clinton supporter in 2016. So yeah, you can tell that we're obviously happily married now and going strong. But yeah, so then got involved with Turning Point before, worked with them for a little bit, worked with the Republican Party in Colorado, and then eventually worked with PragerU, joined their student program, Prager Force. And I made a video for them on campus asking women about the wage gap, and they loved the video. And I ended up sending it to them, taught myself how to edit videos, shoot them, send it to them. They loved it. They posted it. And then Craig, the chief marketing officer, gave me a call. I was like, "Hey, we want to give you a job." And so after 2 years of school, dropped out, moved to Los Angeles, no money, not knowing anyone. The first apartment I lived in, man, it was near where we did that video on Hollywood Boulevard. Yeah. I mean, I used to live right over there, man. And it was cockroaches crawling on my face at 4:30 in the morning. I mean, but I knew that I would do better outside of school with the values that I believed in, being in Los Angeles, paying exorbitant amounts of money, than sitting in some class being indoctrinated.
I mean, that's awesome, man. I mean, that's a pretty, I mean, that seems like a lot of us, there's a pivotal point, where somebody says something real, I almost used the R word. Somebody says something real ridiculous, and you're like, well, wait a minute, this doesn't make sense. And then everything begins to be unraveled. So you do work for PragerU right now. Give me why PragerU? What do you like most about PragerU for people, and explain a little bit of what PragerU does for people that are potentially watching this that have never heard of PragerU. They've essentially been living under a rock, but it's okay.
Yeah,
we're going to inform you today. So talk a little bit about PragerU and why you like working for PragerU and kind of what you do for PragerU.
Yeah, no, it's okay. I mean, it's a comfortable rock to live under, but we're going to get you out of there and let you see the sunshine now. PragerU is a digital media company based in Los Angeles, and essentially we put out videos on all sorts of topics. I mean, we've done climate change and history, science, morality. Brandon, I mean, you did a video on police brutality and other things like that. So yeah, I mean, all topics. PragerU probably has a 5-minute video on it, distilling big ideas from great thinkers and putting them into 5 minutes so anyone can basically watch it. And so I came on as essentially like their first, I guess you would say, commentator, personality, whatever. Used to be influencer back then, but now I'm an author. We don't call, you can't be an influencer anymore.
Get it right. Get it right. You're author now.
Exactly. But that's, how it started. And when I came into PragerU, there was about 15 employees or so, and now we're closer to like 70 employees. So we've totally blown up since then, which is just, I mean, amazing to see. At like 20,000 Prager Force members, our student program, 5 billion views. So that's what PragerU is. And so then what I do, I mean, I make the Man on the Street videos you've seen. I have a show with Amala, Will and Amala Live, which is every single day. producing short documentaries, making social media content, really just wearing a ton of hats at Prager. You're doing all sorts of different stuff. So doing videos with Brandon too on the street.
Oh yeah, we did a video together about, I think it was police brutality, where we went on the streets of LA. We were like, where were we at? I mean, I don't know if it's called
that was Hollywood Boulevard, yeah.
Hollywood Boulevard, where the stars are at and stuff like that. And so it was nasty out there, man. You remember that guy that had he was dressed like Spider-Man with his junk hanging out, man. I was like, and he was taking pictures with kids. I mean, he had spandex, man. There's a grown man with spandex on, looking like Spider-Man or something like that. And I'll never forget that. I'm scarred for life. But when we went out there, what you do is so important, because you ask critical questions of people who wouldn't normally be thinking about these things. And I'll never forget the fact that everybody we talked to seemed to have limited or no information about police brutality, no accurate information. And everybody we spoke to at the end of it, even after we spoke to them, they're like, oh yeah, I never thought like that. So, you know, when you do those things, do you see that interaction with people? Or do you feel like it's informative, or it's just viral content?
No, 100%, man. I mean, look at all those, like that group of girls that we talked to, or maybe one of them was a guy, but we talked to those people and they thanked us afterwards. They're like, thank you for coming up and saying this to us. Like, we had no idea that any of this was actually happening, or this was the truth. Thank you for doing this, right? And I feel like there's a difference between, you know, there's a lot of guys who do man on the street videos. I feel like I was kind of one of the first in the conservative space to start doing them. I haven't done as many recently because of COVID and just, you know, there's other things going on. But, you know, a lot of people just want to go and say, hey, look at you, libtard, you're so dumb, and showcase to everyone and make red meat content. I mean, my goal has always been to change minds, whether that's for the person who I'm talking to in the video, or for the people who are watching the video, to take the strategies and facts that I used to be able to change other people's minds, right? So I think that it is a lot more than viral content. And yeah, actually, because of the way I do it, I feel like I sacrifice virality, because I'm not looking to just make people look stupid all the time. You know, I'm trying to say, hey, here's an educating moment. Here's how you can have a conversation with that guy with blue hair on your campus, or, you know, some person at your PTA meeting that you want to go and talk to. You know, I'm giving people those kind of tools. And I think that's really important, because, you know, I mean, even in your comment section, go to your comment section, my comment section, PragerU, the comments are just filled with people arguing in just the wrong way, where no one's mind is changing. And there's right ways to change people's minds. They just have to practice.
100%. I think the best way of persuasion, or to get someone to think, is to be rhetorical in some cases and say, you know, well, what is this? Or what do you think about this? When these numbers are presented, what do you do with these numbers? You know, now that you know this new information, how does it make you feel? And I think people begin to change a little bit. I mean, like we did, you know, just a little seeds that are planted here and there can really cause you to wake up and start thinking differently. But I want to get to this point, because this is probably my favorite thing. And for everybody that's watching, hit the like button, share it. And if you want to mark a point in this video, this is probably one of your favorite points. So you went from being a complete atheist, hating God, to, what is that, in January? What was that, in January? This last past
January.
You were baptized. You were baptized into Christianity. So explain to the audience, why did you get baptized, and like, how did that affect your life from that point to now?
Yeah, I told you guys my conservative story, and I became a conservative before Christian. But when I was becoming a conservative, I mean, part of being a conservative is looking into history and the history of America. And so finding that out and looking at the founding of this country, I mean, you realize that the founding of this country is based on biblical principles, and that your rights are not given to you by the government. Your morality isn't given to you by the government. Your rights and morality are given to you by God. And so that was kind of the first wake up, where I was like, okay, maybe there's more to this than I had thought of before, but I was still skeptical. It wasn't until about maybe a year ago, I started reading scripture, and I was like, listen, I've been putting this off for too long. I've been coming on and saying, you know, maybe I'm kind of messing with it, wrestling with my faith, but not doing enough to actually commit myself to it, not going to church enough. And I was like, all right, it's time to actually go and do it. So I started reading scripture, and I read the 4 Gospels, and it was like, all right, if Jesus really did die for our sins, like it says within the Bible, and I believe this to be true, then I don't have a choice, because this is the truth. I have to give my life to him. And so essentially after that, I started just getting more involved with the church I was going to, reading scripture more, talking with everyone I could about it, talking online now more about it, feeling much more open to talking about my faith online. And then in January, I got baptized by Pastor Jack Hibbs, if you know who he is, here in Chino Hills. And I did it in the ocean, which was amazing. I mean, it was cold in January, but you're not worried about that when you're doing this for the Lord. And so got baptized that day, and it was the most amazing day of my life. And it's crazy because I got baptized then. And right after that, some things happened in my life that kind of sucked. I got COVID. And then the girlfriend who I was dating for a long time, her and I broke up, and then some other family things. And it was like, I just got baptized, and now all these bad things are happening to me. What is going on? But you realize after you get baptized and you realize that God is on your side, you say, wow, these things are now the biggest testers of my faith. And the lessons that I learned from all these different things is what has made me an even stronger Christian to be able to come out and speak my convictions. So I guess my advice for people is that when bad things happen, like, use that as your testing and learning experiences to say, God is doing this for a reason, and I am going to be stronger in my faith and learn from it instead of looking away from it. Embrace the suffering.
Right. I couldn't agree more, man. When I got saved and I got baptized was in 2008, and I was on the same journey, man. I was at this pivotal point in my life where I said, you know what? I need to figure out, is God real? Like, am I just playing on the fence, or do I need to make a decision? Because I was going through a point in my life where everything seemed to be going wrong, which is most people. And it's good because when you're broken, you go to, you have a source that you go to try to find a way of healing. And some people go to God, and some people go to the alcohol. So I said, you know what, I'm just going to test this. Either God is real or God is not real. And I'm going to move on with my life and figure out where I'm going. And I went to church. I started reading the Bible. God started giving me dreams and visions. And I ended up getting baptized. And man, it just really changed my life. And I felt this sense of reconnection with God. I felt this sense of burden being taken off of me, being cleansed, to where I say, you know what, now I can be in the family of God and really live the things that I'm hearing and the things that I have been reading. And so I think it's incredible, man, that you've done that. And I love the fact that you bring up your faith. People may not know this, but I think, all of our BLEXIT events that we've done, I mean, you've been an intricate part of that. Every single BLEXIT event that we've done, I think you've spoken at them, right?
Yeah, every single one. So
and that's pretty challenging.
The white guy at every one.
The white guy at everyone, the only white person that, no, I was just playing. But let me say this. That's got to be very challenging to a certain degree, and it speaks to your convictions and your I wouldn't say perfection, but your proliferation at being a public speaker, because you are intersecting or interjecting yourself into a realm of dealing with issues that affect the Black community at these events, but you are still able to speak out and give your points. What's the, I want you to let the audience know, I watch all of your speeches when you come speak, but what do you speak about at these BLEXIT events, and why do you use certain stories and different strategies at these events?
Yeah, I think the most important thing with my BLEXIT speeches is essentially that conservatives know that for America to succeed, everyone living in it has to succeed. I'm a straight white guy, been a straight white guy my whole life, I believe. And because of that.
Sure? Are you sure? No.
Well, there's always room to change. I don't want to pigeonhole myself into anything yet. But, this is how I've grown up, and I didn't really know anything else. But I know that there are people all around me with all sorts of different ideas, different races, different genders, whatever it might be. But the only way for America to be the best country in the world is for everyone living in it to be the best. And so that's kind of my message, is like, the message of unity that we need to have is not really, it's not a racial thing. It's not an intersectional thing. It's an American values thing. And so the way to actually, bring communities to be conservative, or at least like love freedom and appreciate this country, is to know that there are common values that all of us align with that have nothing to do with race. Has nothing to do with race. And I think that's the most important thing, is like, I can come to a BLEXIT event and I read my Twitter comments afterwards from the speeches, and they're like, oh, this white guy coming to a BLEXIT event trying to talk to all these Black people. And I'm like, listen, the things I'm talking about, I can come up and talk about it because I'm trying to connect everyone, not on the basis of race. It is on values and ideas. And the only people who are looking at race and think that it matters so much is the left.
Yeah, and I think that's you made an interesting point, because I wish people would get this in their spirit, because although my skin color is Black, and in America people identify me as a Black person, universally being a Christian supersedes the color of your skin, and then also we have been working together, black and white have been working together in America for a very long time. And I think people forget about that. How did we in the Civil War and that occurrence and the freedom of slaves, black people didn't have the right to vote for them to have citizenship and have the right to vote and all of these things. Black people didn't have the right to vote. So it took white people to stand up and be bold enough to say, look, this is wrong. This is not a part of our Judeo-Christian values, and we need to make a change. Also, Harriet Tubman. People like to talk about Harriet Tubman and the Underground Railroad and stuff like that. And it's like, she wasn't going to La La Land. There wasn't some mysterious Africans that flew over here just to help her in the Underground Railroad. There were white people who were Christian who would allow these African slaves to escape and be in their homes, risking their lives. So we have historically always worked together. So having a person who happened to have lighter colored skin speaking at an event, speaking life to people who are, and we have a mixed crowd of people in the audience who are black and white, shouldn't be mysterious to people. What are your thoughts on the interjection of your speech, even in the atmosphere where it's supposed to be about black folks? How do you think that value, goes into play?
Yeah, I think it's funny that you bring up that as well. I mean, it's like looking at the left and they blame the patriarchy and say, men can't talk about these women issues. And it's like, well, men gave women the right to vote, the 19th Amendment. It was men who gave women the right to vote. So saying no uterus, no opinion when it comes to abortion. Men decided, Roe v. Wade. So it's like there are people working together to actually make these things happen. But, no one wants to talk about that. They just want to sit back in their leftist armchairs and say, no, you're not allowed to talk about it unless you are this certain person. When in reality, people have been working together for a long time to make things happen in America, get things done. Sorry, you're gonna have to repeat the question. I just lost my train of thought.
No. I think that you gave you gave an incredible answer, and that's exactly what I wanted you to comment on. I want to jump real quick to talk about your book, because I think that's invaluable. One of the reasons why I wanted you on is because I want people to understand or know about your book so they can go and purchase your book and support conservative people who are out here making a difference. So the name of your book is How to Win Friends and Influence Enemies, Taking the Liberal Arguments with Logic and Humor. So what made you, and we vibe together on this because I'm a new author as well, just wrote my book, Beating Black and Blue. But why did you write the book? Out of all the things that you've done, why do you feel like writing a book is important, and what is your book specifically targeting? So why is writing a book important to you? And then what is your book targeting specifically?
Yeah, well, just so you know, when your book comes out, we're going to get you on my show too. Just so you know. Yeah, it'll be all good. November, right?
Yep, November 30th.
Good. All right. Basically, I mean, you know me for a long time, and I've been doing these videos for years now and talking to people for years, debating people, all sorts of stuff. And, a lot of people think that, oh, you write a book as a person in politics, it's just kind of the next logical career move. And it was like, for me, I wanted to write the book because I essentially want all of the people who are going to read my book or who are watching this right now or who watch my videos to do my job for me, in a sense, that they are able to use the questions and strategies and facts that I have and use them in their real lives and be able to change minds. So it's not all up to me anymore, or all up to the other conservative people. They can use the stuff within the book to actually go and change minds. That's why I wrote it. I mean, it was 6 months of writing. I don't know how long it took you to write yours. It was 6 months, about 3 hours every single day, 7 days a week for about 6 months. I mean, it was the hardest thing I ever did. But I mean, and it's still hard. We got 1 week left. I mean, selling this book is even harder. But, I feel like I didn't do this for me. I didn't do this for the money. I didn't do it for the fame or anything like that. I mean, I did it because I want people to wake up and be able to have those tools. I want people to have good conversations and actually change minds. The whole first chapter, part of the whole first chapter talks about the religion of leftism and how to fight people on the religion of leftism and bring them to truth. And I think that it's so important that we do that, because there is no greater battle right now than fighting leftism, because it is threatening to destroy everything we have. I mean, with this new administration and the mandates, and here in California with the recall tonight, I mean, there's so many things going on that if people just wake up and have good conversations, we'll make those changes.
So you spoke about it being kind of daunting. You know, people have no idea, because you know I know from writing the book myself, is that,
Yeah.
I mean, it's a pretty incredible task. I mean, 3 hours a day, 6 months of doing it, and it's not just you can sit down and just type it all out one take and you're done. You know, there's some revision that goes into it. So can you explain to my audience, because I know there's some people that are watching that may be inspired to write a book, or even if it's not now, maybe in the future, or they may just want to know what is the process of writing a book, you know, from start to finish. You know, once you have the idea in your mind and you want to, you know, make that come to fruition, what is the process that you went through to actually get this book started and get the book to market?
Yeah. First thing, buy about 20 bottles of whiskey and be ready to just sit down and drink and write. After that, I mean, the first thing which I tell people is like, listen, anyone can write a book, or anyone can go online and be a conservative influencer, you know, whatever. There's tons of them right now, people who we would probably call grifters, who do the basic easy thing. The number one thing that I want to tell people is that you need to find a niche for yourself. If you are planning on writing a book, or going online and being someone that you want to say, oh, people are looking for how to change minds. Oh, you need to check out Will Witt. Will Witt's the best at that. He's the one who does this. Or you want stuff on police brutality? You guys know Brandon Tatum. Check out Brandon Tatum. He knows more than anyone else on that, right? Like, you want to be that person for whatever field that you are talking about. So if you're thinking of writing a book, yeah, I mean, you can try and be the next Ben Shapiro and write about every topic and be that very smart, articulate guy. But it's like, people want to find you for something specific that is your niche. So think about that when you're going and saying, okay, I want to start a conservative page, or a freedom page, or a book, or whatever it might be, or a YouTube channel. Like, find that niche that is your thing, that people will say, okay, that is the expert on this.
Perfect. I mean, I think that's really good. And so when you find a niche, and you find your perspective, and you say, okay, this is what I want to do. I want to write a book on, like yours. You know, I want to write a book informing people and giving them the tools to succeed. Now, once you get that idea in your mind and you say, I want to write a book, I'm dedicated, I'm going to commit myself, I'm going to be in it for the long haul. What is your next step? You know, how do you communicate with somebody, a publishing company, or if you're self-published, how do you communicate that very next step?
Yeah, it's kind of tough for me to answer that. I actually got approached by my publisher, so you know, no big deal. But you know, just saying.
No pressure. No pressure.
Yeah, no pressure. But the thing is that these publishers, again, like I just was kind of saying, they want to see that you have something fresh to the table. It's just kind of, you know, they want to make money at the end of the day. No offense. That's kind of how the world works in a way. And so they want to make money, and they need something new and fresh that is going to change people's minds and influence people so that they can sell a lot of books, you know, and the way to do that is to have something that is new and fresh. So again, reiterating on the last point about having something new, and what I know that you can do, that I think is probably the best for most people who are probably watching, is self-publishing. I mean, self-publishing is going to be the best way for most people, because the big publishers, I mean, book prints is going down in a big way. Actually, most of the book buys that people have are pretty much all on Amazon for anyone buying a book. I mean, I would recommend to all of you guys to do self-publishing and sell it on Amazon, because that's where most books are sold regardless. So yeah, write what you're passionate about, write about your niche, and then sell it on Amazon as a self-published book.
Perfect. And then, so once you get it, you just say that the hypothetical person is self-publishing a book, or just say, no, hypothetically, because I want to go more to where the things you had to go through. So in a sense where you become, you know, popular enough, or people, you know, respect your expertise in a certain field, and now they want to publish the book for you. They contact you, you write the book. What's the next step? You know, how was editing for you? Because with me, I went to a public school. You know, college was, I played football in college. You know, I hate to say that. I'm not encouraging anybody to not have academic success, but man, at the time I was more concerned about football than anything else.
Right.
So I'm not really good at grammar. And sometimes people get afraid of that, right? Because they're like, I'm not good at grammar. I'm gonna write a book and it's gonna sound bad. It's not gonna be professional. So what was the steps necessary? Did you edit your own book, or did the publishing company come in and edit it for you and stuff like that?
Brandon, I think your grip of the vernacular is quite impressive. Okay? Yeah, it was a mix of both. I mean, I did editing, and then they also did editing. So I mean, they would go through edits and then send it back to me, and then I'd edit and send it back to them, and we were kind of working together for about 3 months on edits. I would say, you know, like, the way you talk, I mean, you and I, we talk differently. You know, that's just how it is. We have different ways, mannerisms of speech, and the way we communicate, but that's okay. And so like what I did with my book, and one of actually the major edits that my editor had when we were going through it together, it said, you know, this part, it's not really feeling like your voice, Will. Like it's feeling like someone else. And I said, all right, let me look back at this part and make it more my voice. And so for people who are like sitting there and saying, oh, well, I don't have all these grammar mistakes and things that I don't really know about, and what am I supposed to do here? It's like, your voice is your voice. Put your voice in it. And if you don't want to have grammar mistakes all over the place, obviously. But, you know, if there's things that is like, these are things you say, this is the way you spell something, then that's your voice. And you talk about it the way you want to. Don't try and be someone else. Put it that way, because that's the person that people know you for. You know, right. Don't change just because you're writing a book. Like Brandon and everyone else, like you and me, like we write the book so that people say, this is Will Witt's book. This is Brandon Tatum's book. They know it is. As soon as they open it up, they're like, this is their book. You know, you want to have that same feeling when people open your book.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly how I did my book, man. I like literally wrote the book just like I talk. And so yeah. In the editing process, they let me keep a lot of my vernacular in there. They keep a lot of my slang words in there, but some things was hard to read because I talk, and when I read it, it sounds totally fine to me. Even the bad grammar sounds just fine to me. That's the way I would write it. And they would go back and edit and say, you know what, we'll change this, or you need to rearrange this sentence because it really, to the common folk, it really don't make any sense. So it wasn't too challenging, but that was a respectable part of writing a book, is that sometimes you may have to correct it based on the way people read, like the average person reads. But it made it easier for me because when I do the audiobook, it's my actual words, my actual voice. Right. So it's going to be very easy for me to read it. You know, if I was somehow reading some book that I tried to write for a term paper or something like that, or a thesis statement, you know, I wouldn't be able to do the audiobook very well. You know, it'll take me forever to try to, and you know, it'll be really messed up. So I wrote my book in my voice, the way I talk, the slang words, the jargon, just with grammatical corrections in it. So now the next process, after you write the book, after the editing is done, and you got to do the cover image and all of the other things, you know, once all the nuances are finished, when it comes to production and coming to market, you know, what do you have to do on your end? Is it just as much as sharing on social media? You know, how is the marketing strategy and doing a book tour? Like, how does that occur?
Yeah, as this is my first book, and you know, the publisher isn't like, oh, this is Mark Levin who will sell, you know, 100,000 copies of his book in the first week. I'm not like that. You know, I just don't have that audience right now to be able to do that. Hoping one day, but you know, right now I don't. So a lot of this stuff, and I'm sure you'll probably deal with the same as it gets closer, so much of this stuff is on us to do. Like when it comes to the tour, and when it comes to marketing, I mean, we have a publicist and a marketing guy at the publisher, and they're incredibly helpful. They're doing a ton. But a lot of the stuff, like there's no like assistant who's like, oh, I'll handle this kind of stuff for you, like editing these things. Like today I was sending out pitches for news media, and I had to write, you know, a lot of the pitches myself, you know, to send out. So, it's a lot of legwork. I mean, this is genuinely, these last 2 weeks that I've been working on this book, because the book comes out next week, these have been the two hardest working weeks of my life. Like genuinely, like it's been, you know, waking up 5:30 a.m., starting to work, midnight, stopping work, and going to bed. So I mean, but I'm hoping it's worth it, man. You know, getting the books out and having people do it. But again, yeah, a lot of the legwork is on me. So, but the people, again, don't want to say anything bad about the publishers. They are great and it's totally super helpful. But you know, just a lot of the littler things I have to do all of it myself and post on social media and all that.
Right, and it's about working harder, smarter, not harder. Because if we can get you on Mark Levin, then hey, you'll be able to have some Mark Levin audience. So where can people find your book? Where can they find it? Where can they purchase it? Are signed copies available? How are you doing that part?
Yeah, you guys can find my book anywhere books are sold. So I mean, Amazon, Books A Million, Barnes & Noble, Target, any major bookseller is going to have my book. And then there will be an audio book as well as a digital Kindle version. I personally don't read online books. I only read paper books, and I don't do audiobooks either. But the audiobook that I did is actually my voice, so which I think is cool as well. But you can find it anywhere where books are sold. Pre-orders now, and then I was going to say something else. Forget what I was going to say. Anyway, yeah, that's where the books are, and you can find them all there.
The mustache getting in his way, man. I don't know.
Dude, seriously, man. Seriously, I feel like Friedrich Nietzsche.
But you live in California.
Yeah.
So this election, and I want to talk about the election because you have a lot of input in a lot of these things, and you're a voter in California. Right. So, you know, this election coming up, everybody, this is a pretty big special election. I personally believe that Californians, the conservative ones are far few in between, and that these liberals are going to come out in groves. And I'm not trying to deter anybody from voting. You better put your name in the hat because you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
But
you got 30 minutes left to vote.
Yeah, you got 30 minutes left to vote. So if you need to go and come back, you just have it on your phone, put your earpods in, earpods in, and go and vote and join us. But what is your thoughts on this? Because I feel like that the liberals are gonna they rather die than to have a Republican in office, and they rather the country completely crumble and burn before they'll do anything other than keep a Democrat in office. So what do you think is going to happen in the recall, and who do you think is going to win, and what is the repercussion? So 3 questions.
Yeah.
What do you think is going to happen in the recall? Will he get recalled or not? Who do you think is going to win if he's recalled? And what are the repercussions for the outcome that you believe?
Yeah. Best case scenario, Gavin gets recalled, Larry becomes governor, and the state becomes sunshine and butterflies. I mean, that would be, everything we want. And I can live in an apartment for less than $2,500 a month. I mean, that's how insane it is here where I'm living. But it's hard to tell, man. I'm somewhat worried that the campaign for Larry was, Larry's the best candidate and he's amazing and the most smart guy ever. But I'm wondering if the campaign was almost too much about Larry and not enough about just California in general and how horrible it's gotten here. Especially for like young people my age, 25 and younger, who are trying to live here, get a job, start a family, buy a house. Like those things are almost not possibilities, especially buying a house. Like here in California, you want to get a house that's decent, it's $1 million. I mean, and that's what we're working with here. And so I think a lot of those problems, I think need to be addressed. And I think that Larry has a really good chance. I think that there is a chance he will get recalled, and it will happen. But I have no idea if he's going to cheat or not, and screw this up for Larry and the rest of the state. He outspent Larry 5-1 in the last couple of weeks of the election. So I have no idea what's going to happen.
Yeah, it's very interesting because not saying that this is true and not saying that there's clear evidence of incremental voter fraud or that it's negligible or not. I don't know. I'm not there. But I've seen reports of people coming out and saying, look, I went to vote and somehow I already voted,
Right.
Meaning that somebody voted on my behalf, and people are getting double voting, in a mail-in vote. They're getting double vote tablets or whatever you want to call it. I can't think either, man. I just smoked a cigar before this and I'm having a good time. But people are getting ballots. Okay, so they're getting double ballots. Some people were still getting ballots even though they moved out of state. So it's a lot of things going on that are questionable. I mean, do you think that could be a critical factor, or do you think for the most part, with a state as large as California, that will be negligible in comparison to people actually turning out and voting?
It's tough because I think in the beginning of the election, the Democrats were essentially not getting very loud about this at all. They wanted to keep it quiet because they didn't want to fire up conservatives by having Gavin Newsom get really fired up about the battle that's going on. So I think that before, I think those things would have maybe made more an impact, but now it's gotten just so insane. I mean, he brought Biden out to California. There was Obama in his commercials, Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren. I mean, in commercials for Gavin Newsom. I mean, how insane is that these people are coming out and supporting him, probably getting paid off huge amounts to come and do these commercials. They've spent a ton of money. So I think that the amount of people who are going to be voting in this recall is going to be insane. I think it's going to be, I don't think it's going to be anywhere close to a general election for governor, but I think that it's going to be a lot of people coming in and voting and saying, we're sick of California. So I think it could play a part in it, but, again, man, I don't know, because in at the last election, the presidential election, what did we all think? I mean, the things that we thought were going to happen just didn't happen. And then in 2016, the things that everyone else thought was going to happen didn't happen. So I don't know. I don't know. All I can do is pray.
Yeah, same here, man. I don't live in California. I don't have to vote, but California does affect everywhere else in the country, especially with a conservative leadership. Look how great Florida has been, with a conservative leader. And now, you know, California, if they had a conservative leader, I think things would turn around tremendously and affect the entire United States of America. My hope was that in an off election, in a special election, people don't show up. And when I say people don't show up, I was hoping that the conservative Republican base will show up when Democrats wouldn't, because it's not a election year. You know, 2022 may be the biggest turnout. So I was hoping that the turnout would be more in favor of conservatives who are outraged, because liberals aren't outraged at this point because they're living comfortable. They got Joe Biden in office. They have these liberal policies that are coming out. So they don't feel as threatened as Republicans do. Republicans are extremely upset with what happened in 2020. Republicans are extremely upset at what happened in California. Many cases, Republicans are moving out of California. But I was really, really hoping and praying that the turnout will be the thing where people will get lazy and be like, oh, you know, whatever. Joe Biden's in office. Typically, these things happen. You see it in the midterms in an election, that when a Republican wins an election, the Democrats will turn over in the midterm and come out and vote. So another thing I want to ask you related, you know, for the people that are just wondering, like, what is it like living in California? I know you mentioned with the rent is being out of control. You know, as a young man, I feel like you have a reasonable job. You're probably making decent money. You know, I feel like PragerU take care of people. They're not going to have you on minimum wage. But you know, and you've been doing it for a while, so you deserve to be compensated in a generous sense. So, but even as a person, and I know you're not a freaking like the AOC says, tax the rich. So you're not you're not in that category. However, most people can probably relate to the amount of money that you make. Most people are probably around that area when I say like median income. So what is it like, you know, living there and having to afford an apartment that's astronomically way too high, and having a car and getting around? Like, what is it like living there? Is it just complete turmoil, or is it reasonable to a certain degree?
Look, man, I wouldn't assume how much I could be filthy rich working with AOC at the Met Gala.
Hey, I don't want nobody suing you, man. That's how I'm trying to help you out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm very poor. Don't sue me, okay, please. Yeah, I mean, for me, I'm doing okay when it comes to the money side and able to afford the things that I want and be able to do those kind of things. It's been all right for me, but I know that for a lot of other people, it's just been incredibly hard. I mean, in California, 1 in 5 people live below the poverty line. Over 1 million people in California live in energy poverty. Small businesses, if you want to have a small business in California, you have to pay $128,000 a year in just regulatory compliance costs to the government. That's literally just money that you're basically throwing away. That means absolutely nothing. It goes to some administrator in some random job who probably doesn't do anything all day but look at, you know, stupid regulations that the government decided. And it's like all this money that you're spending for not too much gain, not too much gain. I think that in the past you could justify it. You could say California, the opportunity here, the culture here of Hollywood and industry is amazing. The weather's great, it's clean. But now, I mean, now it's just dirty. Everything's falling apart. The people are not the same as they were. I've been there for 4 years, and even in 4 years, I've seen it change. Things are more expensive than ever. So yeah, it is pretty terrible. And especially, I mean, you guys know me. If you follow me on Instagram or watch my show, you guys know that I refuse to wear a mask anywhere. And so having to still have mask mandates in Los Angeles is, I mean, how horrible is that? I mean, it's the worst. And I have to go into Whole Foods and go to the produce aisle and get yelled at by an employee or some random person buying strawberries every single time I go. And it's annoying. I'm not going to stop, but you know, that's just how it is. And you have to deal with it. But I think it does make you stronger. I think it does make you stronger. Put yourself in a situation where you have to suffer, and you will see where your convictions really are.
Oh, that's great. I like that, man. You encourage people to push through it and handle adversity properly. Now, with that being said, you know, with all of the success you've had, will you move from California, or are you one of the people that's saying, I'm going to stick it out and I'm going to reclaim this wonderful, beautiful state? Or do you think you're going to be one of the ones that say, look, Texas, no state tax. The cost of living in Arizona, which is just one state over, is significantly lower than in California. The politics, like open carry. I mean, we have what they call constitutional carry in the state of Arizona. They just passed constitutional carry in Texas. I think they have constitutional carry in Tennessee. Like, so there's a lot of places that have that.
Look what just arrived. Will Witt's book.
Will Witt's book.
My book just arrived?
It just arrived.
Wow.
So we get the front row seat. I don't want to. My wife came up here. I almost got mad at her. I'm like, "What are you doing? I'm doing a a live stream. So yeah, your book is here. I don't want to show people your book, but we have it. Obviously, we have a privilege, you know, because you're my buddy. So
yeah, and we bought one. I bought one.
Yeah, we bought it. We got it.
Listen, every number counts. Okay.
How many we get? We get more than one.
I think I bought two. One for me, one for you.
Okay, so let me see. Well, you better sign this thing, man. I got to get you to sign it.
Yeah, I got to sign that one. But there's a letter. There should be a letter. Corinne, you might have seen the letter if it came with the red mailer. So
she better. This is tight, man. Should I show people, or do you want to keep?
No, you can show people. Yeah, show people.
All right, so here you go, right here. Boom. It's the book right here. I got it with me right here. It's thick too. It's hardback. This legit book, man. I like this.
That book costs about to make about as much as a rent in a Los Angeles apartment. So
look at this. Look at this handsome man right here. He don't have a stash on there. Look at this guy.
Much better looking, but less masculine.
I would say, man, it's got to feel good, bro. Having a book, like saying that, look, I'm an author. This is a physical copy of something I've been able to produce, and people are going to see this in the store, and they're going to go get it, and they're going to. I'm encouraging everybody that's watching this, even if you don't plan to read it, get it for somebody else. Support conservative people who are out here doing the work. All these pages that he had to write, and all the work that goes into it, the money that has to be spent to get this book. I really want you guys to go and support it. Not only get my book, get people's books that are doing the right thing. Why, Mr. Tatum? There are people that need to read this stuff, man. I mean, if we sit back and we just say, oh yeah, that's another conservative with a book, or whatever the case may be, you know that the left ain't doing that. The left is getting books. They're getting them established in universities, forcing people to read them. They are killing us in the information game. So I want you guys to go and get this book. You know, we got 2 of them. We probably buy a batch of them, so we can just start giving them away to people. There's some people that may not be able to afford it, so we'll get some more books so we can give them out to people. But dude, I'm proud of you, man. I mean, this is an incredible accomplishment. At 20-some years old, an author, and I know you're going to write plenty more. But
yeah, that's the idea. Picture books next, hopefully.
Yeah,
so a lot easier to write.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I ain't gonna lie, that's my favorite books with pictures in it. You know, and I read it. I want to see some pictures, man. My imagination is probably not that good, but yeah, this is great. I'm glad to have this. And we support every conservative. We buy the books. We support every conservative. I didn't even know my wife went and bought some. So kudos to my wife. She always on top of it. That's what women do. You know, women are on top of this stuff. Men's minds go up somewhere else, and my mind everywhere else. The wife is taking care of the business behind the scenes. So, you know, great kudos to that. I want to get to a couple other things, man. And just in your opinion, you know, you're white, I'm black, according to American standards. You know, in reality, you know, we're both brothers in Christ. You know, there's no color in Christ. But however, your experiences in America, man, I mean, what do you think as far as racism in America? Do you think racism is prolific in America, or do you think is something else going on with the messaging?
Yeah, man. First of all, thank you for all that, man. That's really nice. So this is him prepping for you to be on my show when your book comes out.
I want all this love on your show, man.
Exactly. Yeah, no, I'll do even more. No, we'll do a whole show dedicated to you too. But yeah, man, I don't know. Again, I'm not black, you know, so it's hard to say, oh, I know exactly what it's like for a black man to be living in America, or a black woman. But I know a lot of black people. I mean, I know you, I know Candace, Amala, who does my show with me every single day, talks about these exact same things, where she's like, the things that the left tell you just aren't true. And this goes for anyone. This isn't for even black or white. I mean, what we have now in America by the left is essentially laziness, where the left says mediocrity is great. And if you are someone who excels beyond, you know, Friedrich Nietzsche, one of my favorite philosophers, talks about, you know, the herd morality and the master morality, and being the Ubermensch, the higher man. And essentially the herd of people, the sheep, will essentially look at the person doing great things and be envious of what they're doing. And so they want everyone to be mediocre. This is how the herd works. They want everyone to be this mediocre person and say, oh, you can't make it because of all these other things. You shouldn't even try. You should just try and be normal and focus on your race or gender or if you're gay or not. Like, these are the things to focus on. And it's like, that is what weak, mediocre people do. The best people, whether you're black, white, Asian, Mexican, whatever it is, say, I'm not going to align with your standards, and I'm going to ascend beyond the things that you are setting as a boundary for me. And so I don't think that even if there was, I would say, let's say there is more racism towards black people in America. Let's even say that that's true. Regardless of if that's true or not, people can still ascend to great heights by having that sort of conviction in them and saying, I am going to be great. They just have to be able to think that way and be influenced by people to say, I am going to live that way. Know that they can be great. Everyone can be great. It's like the greatest opportunity in your life ever is when you have suffering and things that you have to sacrifice for, not when things are comfortable and safe. You will be the best when you have hardships to get over. Someone like Frederick Douglass, amazing guy who no one thought would ever amount to anything, was one of the most prolific writers and smartest thinkers that we've ever seen. And it's like he did it without anyone approving of it, So yeah, I think that whatever it might be, anyone can make it.
Yeah, and I wish people would believe that. I mean, it's liberation and having the freedom to say, if I work hard, I'm going to accomplish what God has for me in my life. Working hard is, you may not be, maybe God doesn't want you to be a multi-billionaire. Maybe that's not your thing. That's not what God called you to do. You may not even enjoy that anyway if you were, but God knows the path that you should take and knows the best version of yourself. And I believe that anybody, anywhere, anytime, no matter who you are, you can become the best version of yourself. As long as you have integrity, you put in the work, you treat people kind, you have a relationship with God. I believe that those things can happen. And I believe you and me, Will, we're a living proof that what is this racism thing, man? Most people don't care. You're a good dude. I'm a good dude. We connect. Real recognize real. And I wish that people would get away from their trying to find out their differences and trying to figure out how can I be, detracted or separated from the man next to me and say, what do we have in common? Me and you grew up very differently. I'm gonna say, I think you had it worse than me growing up. You know what I'm saying? And people like to like to throw your little race cards out there and say, oh, white privilege. You grew up worse than me. My daddy was in my life my whole time, my whole life. And I never had any problems like that. So I think that we debunk the ideology that black and white people are somehow different, or you can't exist or accomplish things because of you or me or whatever, that somehow you, because you're white, you're oppressing me. No, we both do BLEXIT events together. We're many people that follow me follow you.
Right.
It's like on the right, we ain't concerned about race because we have God. On the left, they don't have a God, so their race has to be their God. The government has to be their God. And those things are what I think that I wish people would wake up to. Y'all make sure y'all hit the like button, hit the like button, hit the like button. If you have any questions for Will, ask them in the comment section or through a super chat, whichever one you decide to do. If you do ask a question of Will, we only have about 9 minutes left. I want it to be quick hour worth of communication. We only have about 9 minutes left. If you have a question, put at the Officer Tatum so I can see and differentiate your comment or question versus somebody else's. So if you guys have any questions, make sure that you ask them now. Also, for people that are part of the Tatum squad, what we're going to do is, after Will, Witt, and I are on this, we're going to do a special interview for people that are part of the Tatum squad, where you have an opportunity unobstructed to ask the questions. You just have to submit those now. So everybody on the Tatum squad, submit your questions. If you're not going to ask them here, submit them in the Discord channel. And Will and I will go after this live stream and we'll answer your questions and have a special interview just for you guys. And I appreciate it. And everybody that just joined the Tatum squad, I appreciate you. I think we had about 3 people join while we were talking. And let me go to these questions and see if somebody asked questions or anybody followed directions. Nope, they didn't. This is America.
Yeah,
people don't follow directions. Now I'll say this. Let's see, somebody had it. Somebody asked me about my wife and my baby. Listen, I love you guys and you guys are amazing, but sometimes people do not follow instructions. So I'm not gonna. Okay, here we got a question. Finally, somebody said, at Officer Tatum, question. Will. That's funny that somebody say will stick it out in California or move states. I think you missed that question. Somebody asked the question, they missed it, but will you stick it out or will you move states?
I'm ready to go, man. I'm ready to move to Florida. So I would for sure move to Florida. And it's not that I want to give up on California. I love it here. There's so many great things about California that I really do love. But I use this analogy. It's like, okay, imagine you have ice cream and you really love ice cream. Okay, ice cream tastes great. But someone comes and takes a poop on your ice cream. Yeah, there's still like awesome ice cream underneath there, but it's got poop all over it. You're not going to eat it anymore. And that's what's happening in California. That you have all these great things, but there's poop all over it. And the poop is literal when it goes to Hollywood Boulevard and lots of parts of Los Angeles nowadays. And so, yeah, I'm ready to leave. I'm kind of in the balkanized category where I'm like, okay, let's go find places that are very conservative and keep them very conservative and keep them with good values, you know. But because of that, like, there's advice to any Californians or people from New York or Chicago leaving and going to red states. Just because you go there doesn't mean you can just sit back and say, oh, now I'm in Texas, I don't need to do anything anymore. It's like Texas almost went for Biden, I mean, in this last election, because conservatives were apathetic to what is actually going on in their state. So just because you move somewhere that is more red does not mean you can stop fighting. It honestly means you need to start fighting even harder, because there's a better fight to be won there. So yeah, I'm all for moving to Florida and all for changing it there. I would move to Tennessee, but you know, I don't know. I don't like country music that much, so I don't think I could do it. But Florida.
Speaking of music, you know, this is just my questions, because people, they don't know how to ask questions. Maybe I should have prompted them early in the chat. What is your favorite genre of music? You know, when I looked at you, I said, you know, he probably like a little bit of rock and roll, a little bit of country music, a little bit of hip hop. I see some hip hop. You got some swag, man. You're not just walking around looking like a robot all day. You got swag, bro. So what is your genre? Could I be wrong, or am I close?
No, you're right, man. Well, actually, before I was going to be political and everything I do now, I was going to be a music journalist. So music is really my passion that isn't politics. I probably know just as much about music that I do about politics. Like pretty much any band out there or rapper or artist, I probably know them. Not to flex, you know, but you know, I do a lot with music. I really enjoy it and learn about every band and their songs. So I was going to do like music criticisms and things like that, and that's what I was really into. But yeah, I'm pretty much into everything. I just don't really like new country. I just don't like, and I don't really like screamo or anything like that. But you got these new country artists, and they come out and they're doing this like hip hop country that's so corny. It's terrible. You know, I like a Chris Stapleton. That's fine. But some of these guys are just, I mean, it's some of the worst music ever created.
Yeah, man, everything is beer on the tailgate. You know, I'm like, I think older country, you know, had a message to it, and people had genuine country vibes. But now they try to blend it with hip hop, and it's, you know, I don't really like it that much, man. I like old country music, you know, where it makes me want to put on cowboy boots and a hat and get in my truck and drive somewhere, you know.
Yeah, put a dip
maybe on a dirt road, but
yeah,
man, they burn out the dirt road tailgates and neon lights. But there's a question from Brad. I'll put it up on the screen. It says, Brad, what do you think about college students? What do you think college students should do when they feel that they can't say anything to professors or the administration in fear of backlash and grades are getting kicked out? So I know you deal with college students all the time, or at least college age people all the time.
Yeah.
You know, what would be your advice for somebody who is feeling the pressure of saying, look, man, I can't tell my professor that I disagree with them, or because they may, you know, kill my grades, or they may actually kick me out of university for hate speech.
Mm-hmm. That's tough. I mean, look at someone like Rosa Parks. What did she do? Because someone was going to be mean to her or ostracize her, she didn't stop with what she was doing. She stayed, you know. It's like a very brave thing. What did Jesus tell us? Jesus told us that we would go through trials and tribulations. And there's something important about your life that you have to realize when it comes to God and when it comes to other people. You know, I told this story actually at a BLEXIT event with Brandon, but I'll tell it again. When the Oh, did you lose me for a second? Okay, I think I'm back.
Yeah, just for a second.
When
You're
the
back.
Israelites were, oh, cool. When the Israelites were in Egypt, and the Pharaoh came and said, any male born among you, you have to throw them into the river. And what did the female Israelites say? They said, we fear God, meaning that they feared God much more than they feared the Pharaoh. And that is a truly liberating thing, knowing that you fear God more than you fear other people's thoughts and other people's opinions about you, or other things that other people are going to do about you. You know, people have this stigma around conservatives, thinking that, oh, it's going to be easy to just be a conservative and stand up. Why can't I just be a conservative? With the amount of pressure with the media and Hollywood and universities all being dominated by the left, why would you ever assume it's going to be easy to be a conservative? or to believe in these values. It's not easy. But again, like I was saying before, it's like these are the most important times of your life. And with these mandates and all the oversteps that we're seeing on our constitutional rights with Biden and all sorts of stuff, I mean, these could be the most important 6 months to a year of your life with the decisions that you make now, because they will truly impact the rest of the country and everything that comes next. So it's about being brave, man. It's about being brave and saying, I'm not going to put up with what these people want me to do. I'm not your slave. I am going to do what I know is right and say what I believe in.
100%. I love that response, man. I feel like you say things that I don't really think about. Like, I mean, I think about them, but you make analogies very well, because you make analogies that I think work very well. Let me make sure my grammar is correct. Somebody criticize me, but like you said, Rosa Parks, you know, like what if she didn't want to get criticized? I mean, she had enough. Right. People need to have enough at some point, because what are you going to do? You're just going to continue to say, okay, I'm just not going to say anything. I'm just not going to say anything because my professor may get my grade. No, I'm just going to get a B then. I'll get a C, because this is going to have a lasting effect if I actually stand up. Now, you know what? Is that when you stand up, your neighbor may feel the same way. 5 or 6 other people in your class may feel the same way. And you may create a dialogue where your professor can't flunk everybody without it being clearly obvious, but stand up. Be a game changer. We're talking about Rosa Parks today because she stood up and said, you know what? Enough is enough. I'm not sitting in the back of the bus. I'm just as human. I pay my fees on this bus. I'm going to sit in the front. And if you don't like it, then that's your problem. And so I feel like it's incredibly responsible for people to step up and do something about the things that they actively believe. I got one more question, and then we're going to get out of here because I do want to respect your time. One more question, and I'm sorry if I didn't get y'all's question. You didn't ask them fast enough. I'll put this one on the screen. Darius Rogers, thank you so much for the super chat, my brother. How do you feel about the mandate of vaccines? Just real quick, what do you think about the mandates of vaccine? Now, your response can be as long as you want. I just want to respect your time.
Yeah, no, you're good, man. Man, I am one of the most anti-vaccine mandate people there are. And this is something that's like, I'm not anti-mandate when it comes to lots of things, okay? CRT in schools and elementary schools, teaching little black kids they're oppressed and little white kids they're oppressors, that should be banned. You should ban that, you know? Other things like giving children estrogen and testosterone if they want to switch their gender on a whim, that should be banned. You shouldn't be allowed to do that. But a vaccine mandate, this is totally different, because it's something that is untested and not really fully approved for people to use, right? So it's something that I just don't think that people, if you're vaccinated, then why do I have to be vaccinated for you, right? Doesn't the vaccine work as a means to protect you? I mean, but you can look at the numbers in Israel and you can see that that's not true, because Israel has about 95% people vaccinated and they're still having some of the highest amount of cases right now. So, you know, I won't get too into it. There's a lot of stuff, you know, that goes into it, and I'm just not a fan of big pharma and everything that they're doing in general. They've made 9 new billionaires over this pandemic because of the vaccine. You can put 2 and 2 together and figure out what all that means, but I am anti-mandate for the vaccine in every sense of the word.
Well, thank you, brother, for coming on, man. I really appreciate you. Where can people find your book? Hold on, before you give them the thing, let me make sure I give I'm just gonna read it right off of here. Make sure you I give the title of the book. It says How to Win Friends and Influence Enemies, taking on liberal arguments with logic and humor. This is the book. Where can people find this book at? How can they order it? How can they get this in their hands? And when is it officially out to the public?
Yeah, man, anywhere books are sold, Amazon, Books A Million, Target, Barnes & Noble, whatever it is that you were buying books at, you can get an audiobook on the 21st of September. That's next Tuesday. We're a week away, or a Kindle version, or put your pre-orders in for a physical charge right now on Amazon. Amazon will probably be the easiest one for most people, but you can really get it anywhere. And if you want to get a signed copy, there's a link in my Twitter, actually, that has the signed copy as well on my Instagram right now, where you guys can get signed copies of the book. And if that doesn't work, send me a DM and I'll try and figure it out for you. So, but yeah, follow me on Instagram at the Will Witt, Twitter at the Will Witt, whatever. Really appreciate you having me on, man. It's always good to talk to you. You know, we just always have a good time when we do stuff together, man.
You should move to Arizona so we can go have a whiskey together or something like that, man. If you come down here, we need to connect. But I want to do this for my audience.
I'm speaking at GCU.
Oh, when?
Yeah, October. It's for my book tour. I think it's my last week of the book tour. It's like October 12th or October 11th.
That'd be great, dude. Invite me. I would love
yeah,
to
let's get you out, man. Yeah,
I would love to say hi to everybody, and
for
we'll
sure.
do that. But this is what I want to do with Will's book, and this is why I feel like it's important for us to all collab and support one another. If you get Will Witt's book, you buy it, you screenshot the order. I'm gonna pick a person and give away one of my books for free, to a signed copy of my book for free. So if you buy Will Witt's book, you screenshot the order, you send it to me on the email, which would be connect@theofficertatum.com. Connect@theofficertatum.com. You show me that you've made a purchase. We're going to randomly pick the people who submit, and you're going to get a signed copy of my book. I'm going to sign it and I'll send it to you. We'll pick somebody. So you have until I'll give you guys 24 hours, right? You have in 24 hours, the people that purchase and show me in 24 hours, we're going to pick somebody and give you a signed copy of my book. And the reason why we do this, and I hope that people can be an example, we should support one another. There's no, I have a book, he have a book. It's not about who books sell the most or who can. No, we need to support one another. I hope he has New York Times bestseller, because I think you got to sell like 5,000 copies in the first week or something like that.
Yeah, it's a little bit arbitrary, especially when you're a conservative. We're past we're past that, but it could be even more. You could get up to 20,000 copies, and they could still be like, we don't really like this book. So it's tough. But the support, you'll get to a certain amount of numbers where they're like, yeah, we have to,
right. And that's where you need to get, even if you don't want to read it, buy for somebody else that needs to read it. I appreciate all of you guys. Love you guys. Y'all go follow Will Witt on all the social media platforms. How do they follow you on social media, Will?
Click the follow button @TheWillWitt on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. I think even LinkedIn if you want to connect there, talk business. But yeah, all those different places.
All right, perfect, man. So I'm gonna pull you out. Stay in the chat. I want to chat with you afterwards. Appreciate you coming on, Will. Thank you so much, my brother from another mother. And we'll talk after the live stream. I appreciate you guys coming on. I try to do interviews. If you have a suggestion of somebody you want to interview, if the person is cool, I'll interview them. Mostly I try to interview people I know that I think are incredibly impactful, but that I could trust. I don't want to throw somebody on here, interview them, give them a platform, and then they become some lunatic sellout that's working for the enemy. I almost said working for the white man. People say that to me so much, I keep saying it. But shout out to Will Witt, man. Y'all go follow him, go get his book right here. Support this man. He's doing a lot of incredible things. This is just one of many things that he do. Go to PragerU, join Prager Force, do all of those wonderful things. I appreciate you guys. If you're on the Tatum squad, stay tuned. You can get a link to another stream. You can ask questions. It's going to be a quick session with Will Witt. It's not going to be too long. So if you're part of the Tatum squad right now, go to the Discord, put your questions in. And I think Sky will help you coordinate that. And we'll have another stream. We'll share the link, and you guys will be able to ask exclusive questions. And we'll have a short conversation with Will Witt just for my audience on the Tatum squad. So I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. Thank y'all for watching. I'll see you on the next one. I'm out.